As of this recording, the first big trailer for Paul W.S. Anderson's Monster Hunter film has been unleashed upon the internet. As a longtime Monster Hunter fan, I've got some feelings about it. No, this isn't going to be a video about nitpicking every little thing that's wrong with it, but the reason I bring it up is because despite news outlets headlining about the accuracy of this film, it's missing the feel of Monster Hunter. Everything about this trailer is painting Monster Hunter as a grim and dire world of desperation and fear, as most American movie trailers do. He presents the monsters as these vicious predators, a constant oppressive danger that prey on the heroes at every turn. Anyone who's played any game in the Monster Hunter series knows that this isn't the case, because there's a culture to the world of Monster Hunter that just isn't in the trailer. And I'd like to take a deep look into what that culture is and how it's expressed in the games. Of course, I realize that I'm about to delve into critical discourse about the themes and message of Monster Hunter, and anytime someone does it, it inevitably devolves into, oh, but you hunt these monsters in their own habitat and you kill them for their pelts and their bones, and maybe you're the real monster. And no, we're not doing that. Real-world standards about poaching and hunting animals don't apply in a world where the natural wildlife are the size of cement trucks that breathe fire. I'll elaborate on that in a bit, but first I'd like to give my reading on what I think the game is actually about. So before I go off on what is essentially my educated headcanon, let's go over what is canon to the universe of Monster Hunter. Because there isn't much. Fans have been scraping together what little pieces of lore are either hinted at or scribbled in the side note of an art book somewhere to determine what the true history of this universe is. But there is no definite answers. All that is truly known is that a long time ago there was an ancient civilization with advanced technology, the scraps of which can be mined from the earth and sometimes found intact in long-lost ruins. No one knows what wiped out the ancient civilization, but the long-lived Wyvernians, these pointy-eared people, are somehow linked to them. The Wyvernians bestow their wisdom to the hunters of modern day and task them with a mission: to maintain the balance of nature and the ecosystem. That much might actually be true if the Monster Hunter on Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is to be believed. There was a whole script that was uncovered that's believed to be an early version of the world setting for Monster Hunter 1, and boy is it some grim, dark, edgy bullshit. Like, the ancient civilization was killing dragons and grafting them together into this horrific Franken-dragon to create the ultimate bioweapon. So then there was a huge war between the humans and dragons, and yeah, this is really stupid. But part of it is believed to have made it into the real game, in the form of Fatalis. Far from just being another animal-minded beast like the rest of the monsters, Fatalis is a dragon that hates humanity and is actively seeking its destruction. But aside from some ancient ruins and one evil asshole dragon, the rest of Monster Hunter's world speaks for itself. Vast expanses of natural landscape with their own ecologies populated by fantastic, terrifying, and extremely aggressive monsters. If we take that just at face value, it could still be that dire, grim world that the movie says it is. But take a look at any of Monster Hunter's towns, and you know this is not the case. These aren't a people who are surviving predation by giant monsters living on the brink of extinction. This is a functional civilization. The humans of Monster Hunter don't just survive, they thrive in this world. They've taken natural resources and created medicine, metallurgy, mass transportation, steam power, gunpowder. They have cuisine! I've once heard the setting of Monster Hunter described as cave punk, and I think that's right on the money. There's a certain insanity to how technology just works in Monster Hunter. How you can go out and hunt a fire-breathing dragon, carve out its bones and scales, slap them onto a sword, and now you have a fire sword. And the entire society is built around this kind of logic. This is a people who embrace danger as a way of life, not out of desperation or struggle to survive, but just because that's how things work. In order to coexist in this crazy magic dinosaur world, Humans have to build insane weapons, employ daring tactics and techniques, and utilize gadgets and tools in order to keep pace with the sheer overwhelming power of the wyverns that roam the land. In an interview with Paul W.S. Anderson about the film, he talked about how he had a few guys from Capcom review his footage, and he was surprised to find how critical they were about the details of the Diablos in the shot, correcting things like its posture, its behavior, the sound of its roar, even the details of its toenails, while Anderson admitted he was more concerned with how it compared to Mila Jovovich's presence on screen. Because of course he was. I get the impression that Anderson is also missing another huge part of Monster Hunter, which is that the monsters are as much the star of the show as the hunters are, and that the relation between humans and wyverns isn't entirely antagonistic, except for Fatalis because he's a jerk. Playing Monster Hunter is more than just about beating up a series of bosses. It's about getting to know these monsters intimately. In order to build a monster's gear, you have to hunt them multiple times, which encourages you to learn the hunt and become better at it, familiarizing yourself with the monster's attacks, behaviors, and weaknesses. And god damn it, I just need one Skymerald. I just need one, you goddamn Zenogre. Just drop my Skymerald. By the end, you fully understand who and what this monster is, and your reward is the ability to embody its power as your own. It makes every single monster more memorable than just another boss. I can tell you every single monster I've hunted since Monster Hunter Freedom Unite, but I probably couldn't tell you the first 3 bosses of God Eater. Monster Hunter isn't just about humans versus monsters, because humans are as much a part of this crazy ecosystem as the monsters are, and the ultimate goal is to coexist. What's fascinating about Monster Hunter isn't just the culture at its heart, but how it draws the player to engage with its culture through the playable hunter. I'm not claiming that Monster Hunter is immersive, for whatever worth that word even has nowadays, but more so that the look and feel of your playable hunter is what grounds you to the experience and lets you participate in the world. One thing I've always found entertaining, if not slightly odd, is the art style of Monster Hunter. The series opts for a semi-realistic style for its human characters, not in some vain attempt at photorealism, but enough to make their characters feel strangely ordinary. If you look at your hunter's physique compared to the average playable hero in a video game, you'll notice they're not exactly the ideal peak physical form. I mean, they're still fit and athletic, but they're not quite Herculean. Part of it, I feel, is Monster Hunter's humor. There's a sort of surrealness to seeing realistic people in unrealistic circumstances, similar to the kind of absurd humor of Tekken or Yakuza. It's why the Palicos look more like real cats than a stylized cartoon cat. My takeaway from this is the idea that the hunter is not a specific extraordinary person. Granted, you do ridiculous and extraordinary things, but not because you're the chosen one or some hero of destiny, but because you're a hunter, and that's just what hunters do. Diving headlong into danger is the way of life for a hunter, and that sort of enthusiastic recklessness is shared by every other character in the game. These are people who'll see Zora Magdaros just minding its own business and say, "You see that literal walking volcano over there? We're gonna capture it." Like, there's a scene in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite where a Darren Moron shows up, and the Monster Hunter is treating it like a big emergency. But in Monster Hunter 4, the arrival of Darren Moron is a festival. Hunters would jump onto their boats and sail next to it so they can leap onto it and mine the ores right off of its back. More than anything, there's a joviality and a lightheartedness to Monster Hunter that makes it easy as a player to embrace that thrill for danger, no matter how dire things get. Even if Sideus threatens to sink all of Moga Island or there's a Delamador on the horizon, no one ever acts like they're in any danger, even if realistically they are. The other part of how Monster Hunter puts you in the hunter's mindset is through its animation and gameplay. In a normal action game, attack animations need to be fast and responsive to a player's input, often for the sake of reliability. But that's not true in Monster Hunter. Weapons have a real heft to them, and compared to other games, your attacks feel sluggish and slow. And you do have the option of fast weapons, but they have the effective range of a butter knife. By now you should know that this is deliberate. This is the game's way of telling you that you aren't a superhuman. You aren't Dante. I mean, you could dress as Dante, but you know what I mean. Each weapon's animations demonstrate what it takes to bring down a wyvern. The sheer weight and power of the greatsword or hammer, the agility and wild abandon of the sword and shield or dual daggers, the practiced and precise steps of the longsword, or the batshit insane engineering of the gun lance or the charge blade. It makes these weapons unwieldy, but that's the point. The game is encouraging you to think like a hunter, to use your tools, traps, and even the environment to gain the edge over your overwhelmingly powerful prey, all with a sort of joyful bravado that revels in the thrill of the hunt. Even the hunter's non-combat animations embrace the light-hearted nature of its world, the way they dive into a platter of food with gusto, the excitement of finding a rare item. Hell, in older Monster Hunter games, you used to flex every time you drank a potion. This is the hunter's life, and they love it. I can't think of any other game with fewer than a sentence of written or spoken lore that still invites me to live in its world like Monster Hunter does. I've been hunting Rathalos since 2008, and the hunt is still exciting to this day. I've played difficult games, and I understand the adrenaline rush that comes from being weak and disadvantaged, forced to overcome the odds anyway. But there is a thrill and a joy that Monster Hunter gives me that's incomparable. Not the short-lived satisfaction of having defeated an enemy or saved a people, but the validation that I've proven to myself that I belong here in this world that will happily have me back to hunt the next big thing, to keep exploring and be taken by the splendor and terror of this world, and to embrace the danger that this life is about. A feeling that I am more than certain is going to be completely botched by the movie.
Some people think they can outsmart me. I've yet to meet one that can outsmart bullet.
That's what we like to call big damage.
That's all for today's ABItorial. I still gotta climb up to MR 100 and fight Elatron and Vitalis with my friends, but in the meantime, don't forget to give this video a like and leave a comment below with your thoughts about Monster Hunter. Be sure to subscribe to SugarPunch and hit the notification bell for more anime and game content. You may have noticed that we've started running ads, but we're still keeping our Patreon open if you want to support the channel and get early access to all of our future videos. I'm ABI, and good hunting out there.